Okay, yes, the website that we have up on the screen is one that I will continue to maintain after our 6 sessions together. So it'll be there for you to refer to as notes, as well as some of the PowerPoints you can download from this site. The links will all be there, and I will actually continue to update this website with new information as the techniques that folks are using in the law firm with PowerPoint continue to grow as the PowerPoint program itself continues to develop. I am going to be using primarily PowerPoint 2013. Some of you may have 2016 as a application. There are only a couple of additional features that are really useful in a law firm environment that are in 2016, and I do have a, if you look over here on the left-hand side and scroll down here, I do have a link here, 2016 PowerPoint new features, and you can go there and take a look at a few of the features that might be of interest to those of you who have 2016. But all the features that I'm going to be demonstrating in the 6 sessions are available both in 2016 and 2013. And I know the law firm that I worked for still has 2013, has decided not yet to kick up to 2016. So I'm focusing on 2013 as the legal presentation tool for us in the sessions. But if you have questions about 2016, please do email those to me. And I do have, if you look over here on the left-hand side, a Q&A pages, and any questions you ask me that we don't have time to answer during our hour, I will put your questions in here with the answers. And if those have to do 2016, they'll be there, possibly some videos as well for you to look at. Let's take a look, overview of the course where we're going today, creating slow motion videos and reverse videos in PowerPoint. And I'm going to be showing you basically how to go about doing that, clipping frames out of videos that you might want to use in trial. And yet you want to slow them down, you want to annotate them, and you don't want to really get into video apps and things like that. We can do this in PowerPoint, and I'll show you some utilities that help you do that. Next session, creating animation and producing MP4 files. WMV file, video exhibits with audio narration. So this will be kind of the opposite. Instead of bringing video frames into PowerPoint, slowing them down, here what we're going to do is, assuming you have a PowerPoint, you'd like to produce a video with narration, this will be what we do in our next session. And then we're going to get into, in session 3, non-sequential presentations. One of the things that PowerPoint is good at, of course, is one slide after another. But what if you go into court and you'd rather not have to be sequential? You'd like to have a table of contents. You could click on, go to this section, that section, and come back to the table of contents and so on. So that will be something we cover in session 3. And then zooming into fine detail with the Magnified Tool, but also with links. Sometimes PowerPoint is kind of limited as to what it can show when you have a lot of detail. And in this session, we'll get into zooming in on detail. And then session 4, presentation modes and timelines, creating timelines in PowerPoint, and the different modes of presenting. In session 5, animated GIFs and how they can be useful with transparent backgrounds, and the compelling use of smart objects that are built into PowerPoint. And then session 6, inserting photos, albums, and working with images while they're in PowerPoint to enhance them and so on. My contact information is here, so if you don't get a chance to enter a question or a question comes up between sessions and you'd like to email me those questions, here's my email, phone number. If you want to contact me, I'd be happy to chat with you over the phone about what we cover as well if questions come up that you'd like to talk with me about. And you're hot to trot with those questions, well, you can give me a call as well. And then we do have a filing cabinet. The filing cabinet, as you can see here, has got a lot of downloads of PowerPoint examples that possibly some of these will be using during the our course of instruction, and give you a chance to download those. There's some animated GIFs that you can download, some JPEG files that we'll be using, and there's an application that's a shareware application that I'll be using actually today in our session, and you can download this and install it on your computer. Once you do download it, you'll notice it has a last name of .rename. Once you download it, you're going to have to rename the last name of that file .exe before you can install GOM Player. And then there's some other PowerPoints down here, legal size calendar in PowerPoint. And then this is a PowerPoint I'll be actually creating with you today, but you can download it and see it if you want to download it from this particular file cabinet. And this is an example of using PowerPoint to create tutorials out of other applications, and we'll get to that as well. So anyway, and I'll be adding possibly some other things to the filing cabinet as we go along, depending on your questions. So let's go to creating slow motion videos and reverse videos in PowerPoint. And I'm going to have to change my magnification level here so you can see this whole screen. One thing that you have to keep in mind with regard to video is that it is recorded at so many frames per second. How many frames per second can human eyes see? Well, I have a link up here at the top, how many frames per second. And there's a lot of answers to that, but normally the television and movies are set at around 30 frames per second, up to 40 frames per second. And a video actually consists of still images that are shown very quickly before your eyes. But what if a video that you're wanting to show to the jury in a particular conference meeting, it goes way too fast, and you have to stop it, pause it, back it up, that kind of thing if you're using a video player. Also, what if you want to print out a segment of the video? You want printouts, these exhibits, like frame 1 through 5. You want to print out that section of the video. You've got to get the individual frames of the video into PowerPoint so you can present them that way. And what if you want to reverse the video in PowerPoint? So in order to do that, what we have to do is get the frames of the video into a PowerPoint presentation, the still images. And I'm going to show you a couple techniques for that. One involves using the program called GOM Player. And the other is, if you don't want to use that, you want to just snip the pictures out of the video, then you can use the snipping feature that's built into PowerPoint. So this is a video I'm going to be using, and you can go to this video and see it, but I'm going to show it to you here. I'm using the GOM Player video player that I'm going to be using later to grab a sequence out of the video of still frames, but let's take a look at the video itself and show you the problem. So this is someplace in South America. There was a camera that was focused in on this intersection where they've had some problems. You can see the van, it's stopping on the tracks. The guardrails were down, but the train is coming, and the van has gotten stuck. Tried to go around the barriers. This man gets off and he pushes the van off of the tracks and then just barely gets out of the way. And so let's pretend for a minute that there is a lawsuit involving this video. And we want to grab a segment of the video out and put it into PowerPoint. So I'm going to move back to the beginning of the video here and pause it. And this is the way you would do it. I'm going to go into PowerPoint, and I'm going to start a new PowerPoint slideshow, a blank one, and I'm going to get rid of the titles here. I just want a bunch of blank, and this is the way you start out when you're going to grab out of a particular movie, a video. You want to create a bunch of still slides. So I'm going to click on that one, hit Control D on the keyboard, and I'll create about 30 frames or slides for the frames in PowerPoint. So I've got 30 created. Then I go back up to my first slide, and I want to insert some video frames from that video we were watching. So I have the video actually paused, and come down here, and I've got it paused on this frame, and this is a frame that I want to grab because it shows these guardrails that are down. Here's a car going over already, but I want to grab this frame to show that the guardrails are down. So then I go back into my PowerPoint presentation, and I go up to Insert and Screenshot. But look at this. There's a little arrow under Screenshot that I want to use instead of that whole screen. I don't want all of the screen showing, just a portion of that. So I click this little arrow, and then it's going to give me the screen clipping option. When you do this, notice that I have several things open in PowerPoint on this computer, and I don't want to screen snip out of here or there. So you come down and you give focus to whatever you want to screen snip out of, which is this particular video that's paused. And then I pick screen clipping. And now the frame that I want to grab is showing, and I make sure that I grab the whole thing. So I go up the upper left corner, hold my left mouse button down, and drag across until I get to the very bottom right-hand corner of that frame, and then I let go. And that video frame is brought into this particular PowerPoint slide. Now I go to the second blank frame, and I have to go back into my video, and I want to move this forward a little bit, and I'm going to pause it right there because now you see the van has moved past the guardrail, and this is the van that one of the vans that's going to cross over. And so I want to grab this frame too. So I go back into my PowerPoint, repeat that same feature, screen clipping, and make sure I get that upper left in the lower right corner exactly. Bring that one in, and go to the next blank frame, go back to my video and play it a little more. And here is where the van gets stuck on the track, stalls out, whatever happens, and you see the motorcycle guy that's going to come in. So that's a good frame to grab as well. So I go back into my PowerPoint and do the same procedure. Go up to the upper left-hand corner, hold my left mouse button down, drag across, and grab that next frame. And keep going. So I'm going to go back to my video, play it a little more until there's some action to record. Van's still trying to get across. Now here's where the guy's getting off the motorcycle, so I think I'll pick that frame as well. Go up to Insert, Screenshot, Screen Clipping, and hold the left mouse button down and drag across. Go to the next blank frame, go back to video, play it again. This time he's running off of the motorcycle. He's almost to the van. I'll go ahead and grab that frame as well. Oops. Go to my next blank frame for this grab. Play it again, Sam. Now he's pushing the van. I'll get that one. And go to the next one. Play it again. Now he's got the van off the tracks, and you can see the train coming in. This would be a good one to capture. It's important to try to keep accurate clipping here, because otherwise the video, when you play it in PowerPoint, would jump a little bit. So I'm going to go to the next blank frame or slide and play it. And now you see the men running back across the tracks, which is part of the case, pretend case that we're doing here. So I go back into my PowerPoint, blank slide. And we'll clip this one. And we'll keep going down here to another blank slide. Video, play it. And pause it real quick just to show a little bit more of action there. Now I'm going to show you something else I've done, because you've noticed that I've been going up to insert, then having to come down here to the little arrow, and then pick the screen clipping, which is okay, but there's a faster way to do this. I'll show you in the next frame that I grab. Right now I'm going to grab this one. Go to the next blank slide. Go back to my video, play it a little bit. And now the train, maybe go a little bit further. And so now that one I'll grab. And this time when I go back into PowerPoint, I'll show you up here at the toolbar, in my customized toolbar, I have the snipping screens clipping tool up here. And if you customize your toolbar, you can put the snipping tool, instead of having to do this every time, like this, you can put this little icon up on your toolbar, and then you can just click it and go directly there. So it avoids a step in the process. And now I'm going to come down to 11, go back to my video and play it a little more. And this time, wait for some people to start getting off the train. There they are. So here's some people getting off the train, and I'll go ahead and grab that one as an example. Use this little shortcut tool. And there it is. So now I'm going to say, well, in my case, I don't need any more than this. So I'm going to take a look at what this looks like now in PowerPoint. I'll go up to my first slide, and I'll do my slideshow from current slide. And I'm going to just go ahead and use the left mouse button to click through this. So you can see, now I'm going to use the up arrow key on my keyboard to reverse it. So what you can do now is show the jury, here's the starting frame. I'm going to use the down arrow key. You can say now, I'm just going to go through this video very slowly for you to see what happens. You can comment about the guards being down. And here comes the van. He's going around the guards. And now he gets stuck on the tracks. And then the gentleman gets off. And fortunately for the van, he's able, with great strength, to push the van off the tracks. But now, and this is the case that we're dealing with, the man that pushed the van off the tracks is suing the train company because he has emotional stress for rescuing the van. So he's trying to get some money out of the train company here, because what he says happens after he pushes the van off the tracks, he runs back and almost gets hit, and he suffers great emotional trauma from this. Now, let's say you're representing the train company, and what you say is, well, It's a very good Samaritan thing he did, but here, if you look carefully at the video, he actually, in this frame, is far enough along that he can just jump off that side. He didn't have to come running back like he does here in front of the train. And so he didn't need to suffer any emotional trauma. He did a good thing, but we're not going to pay him anything, that kind of thing, okay? So that's the long and the short of grabbing, and you can reverse it back and forth like this, a sequence of frames out of a video in a manual kind of way, where you just grab the stop, use the screen snip feature, and put it back in there. Now, the other advantage of doing this is now, unlike with the video, you could do this in a video editing program, you could annotate it and so on, but now what we can do is we can annotate the video. So we can come up here, we have this still frame, and we can go to insert, and we can insert a shape. We can use an arrow, and we can point the arrow down at the crossing guard like this. We could put another one over on the slideshow as well by pointing down at this particular crossing guard, showing that they're both down. Or you could use a circle or something of that kind. You could also show that this man is going around it, as will the van in the next scene. So then you could go to the next frame, and you could show, again, put the arrows down here, or put a circle right by it, showing that the van is violating the law by going around these. So we could go up to insert and put in a shape. This time we could put in a oval and put the oval around the action area, and then we can right button click on that and say fill, and say we don't want any fill, we just want the little circle around there, and the outline, put it in black, shows up a little bit better. And of course you could also format this oval, the shape, by increasing the line size. So we can get that a little bit bigger over there, and give a demonstration of how to use a circle. So now when we play the video, we can play it frame by frame. We can also hold down the down arrow key and play it more quickly, and so on, and reverse it. And we have our annotations right there in the video frames themselves. And we can print out these, what do we have, 11 pictures. So we can have a flip chart of the video and give this to the jury and submit this as evidence as well. Now, this is a little bit awkward, and sometimes, unfortunately, grabbing frames like this that are a distance apart creates a herky-jerky kind of video in PowerPoint. So what I did is I used a GOM Player program to tell it to grab a whole bunch of video frames out of the video. And I've got a PowerPoint over here that has these in it. So this PowerPoint, what I did is I used the GOM Player to grab a whole bunch of frames. If I cursor down in this PowerPoint, you can see I have 685 frames that I've grabbed out of this video. And so now, and then I've inserted those into PowerPoint. And the advantage of doing the GOM Player grabs is that it's an automatic process, which I'll show you, and it grabs them exactly. Remember before I was showing you, you had to be careful, you grabbed it upper left corner, drag, and get over to the right. Well, GOM Player does that automatically. So it grabs the sequence of frames without you having to worry about that aspect of it. So here, I'll play this PowerPoint for you to show you the difference. So now here I've already annotated one of the frames to show this, and I'm going to hold down my down arrow key in PowerPoint. Now this is PowerPoint showing these individual frames. And I'm holding it down, and I'm just keeping the down arrow. And here goes the guy off. Notice how much more smoothly this is showing up. Oops, and here's an arrow that I put in so I can pause it there, showing that the van is on the tracks. And here he comes pushing the van off the tracks. And again, I'm just holding down the down arrow key. I'm going to let it up. And here's another frame on which I've done some annotations. Over here, you can see that the guard is down. I've got a little freehand drawing around that. Freehand drawing about where the track is over there. And now as I hold down the down arrow key, you can see the gentleman could easily have jumped out of the way, at least that's what we're alleging, without coming back in front of the train as he does here. And again, this is, I'm just going slide by slide here, but if I hold the up arrow down, it shows it reversing and goes back and forth. And then you could pick, out of these 600 slides, you could pick which of the segments you want to submit to the jury as well. You print them out in color, whatever. So that's, now how did I get all of those within a matter of seconds instead of doing it the manual way? Well, I use this program called GOM Player. So I'm going to go back into it and show it to you here. I'm going to move back to the beginning of the video. I've got the video paused here. And then over here, the control panel for the GOM Player. Again, a shareware program you can download from our course website. You could use it to do individual screen captures. And then you would just do this individual screen capture. It'll just take that particular slide and put it into your into a folder where you want to put it, or you can do advanced capture, which is what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to go to advanced capture, and here's where you tell it where to put the captured frames. Where do you want them to go? Right now I have it pointing at this particular path. If that's not where you want to go, you just pick change directory. And then you can go ahead and you can make a new folder. So I'm going to go to my desktop and make a new folder, and I'll call it video frames. Whoops. Didn't quite hit the mark there. Let me try it again. Make new folder. We'll call it, yeah, keyboard's acting up here. You know, let me just put it in the new folder here. I've got a new folder, and we can rename it later. So I'm going to click, that's where I want the frames to go. And then you can see the path changed to where the frames are going to be placed. Now in GOM Player, you have some choices to make. The image format for the individual frames. JPEG is usually the standard format for the individual pictures that you want to take out of a video. You can change that to BMP, which is an older file format, a Windows file format, but I find that JPEGs are a little bit better for using in PowerPoint, so I usually stick with JPEGs. You can play with that to see which works for you. And then you have the JPEG quality. It's pumped up to 255, which I would highly recommend. If you don't need that high resolution for the video you're doing, then your JPEG quality could be less by lowering it here, but I would keep that up at 255. The burst capture images, how many images do you want to capture out of this video? Now you'll notice I have it set at 999 for burst capturing. You could say, well, I don't really need that many, but if you don't need that many, then you don't have to click the burst button as frequently. So I usually set it right up at 999, so that that's the capacity of GOM Player. It can capture almost 1,000 frames out of a video in one fell swoop. If you need more than that, you're probably not using this tool in conjunction with PowerPoint in the correct manner, because a PowerPoint slideshow that has 999 frames is going to be very awkward to use. In some computers, it may even crash, and you're not going to be able to use the PowerPoint as I was showing you earlier. I'd say around 600 or 700 frames in a particular PowerPoint is about as maximum I would go, unless your computer has about 16 gig of RAM. Most computers don't have that much. So the burst, but you can keep the burst rate at 999 and then just not click as many times to get the frames into your computer. I'll show you that in a little bit. Now, the burst interval per second. How many seconds do you want between the individual frames? Each second in most videos is between 24 and 40 frames per second. Normally, you don't need to worry about that. If you bringing these into PowerPoint, you're probably going to set this at 0.05. That's my recommendation. You can have that less, and then you get less of the video into your frames, your captured frames. But again, this is an art, not a science. When it comes to what you're grabbing, depends on the video, its frame rate, it depends on the quality of the video, and so on. But experiment with this. My understanding from most people that use this is 0.05 works fine. And so now it says here, set the current screen as a Windows background image, which you don't want to do. The captured images will be saved in JPEG format, which is correct. The rest of these, centering, tile, stretch, I don't mess with those for this particular operation. You can experiment with those for other purposes, but when you're grabbing frames to put into a sequential set of slides, it's best not to diddle with those down there. Over here on the right, you can see the options, pan and scan, which is not something I'm going to be demonstrating with this particular operation. The screen capture, that's screen capturing one at a time. We want to do the advanced capturing. So we click there to bring up the advanced capture option. And that's what this is over here, advanced capturing. So once you have clicked there, you'll see this over here in front of you. Now, we're ready to start capturing the video frames. So I'm going to move these out of the way so I can see a little bit better what I've got. And what we do is we start playing the video. And then once we get to the point where we want to burst capture, we keep clicking on burst capture button. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll click play. I'm going to wait. Now I'm going to wait for that van to show up. There it is. So now I keep clicking on burst capture about every 2 seconds. I click it and the video moves forward, and I keep clicking, clicking again, clicking again, clicking again, clicking again, and I'm just pausing there and then clicking. Okay, so I'm done. I've got all those grabbed into that folder. I can close the capture mode, pause the video, and I can minimize it. And now I can go into a blank slideshow, and I can get rid of this. And now I want to insert a bunch of those images into a PowerPoint slideshow. In this case, I don't have to create a bunch of blank slides. I'm going to use another feature of PowerPoint that we're going to get to in another session, but this one comes in handy to use right now. So I click on Insert, and I go to, instead of Picture, which I could do, I could insert individual pictures one after another into a series of slides, but I could also insert a whole bunch of them using the Photo Album option. So I click here and pick New Photo Album. And PowerPoint comes up with this screen that allows me to pick where the pictures are going to come from. insert picture from, and I pick File and Disk. And now I'm going to go to the folder. We had desktop, and we find that folder where all those frames were placed, and it was called New Folder, remember? So I double click on that, and here are of all the frames, the pictures that were taken when I was burst capturing. I can just kind of cursor through them all and see them. And you could now click on a sequence of these. You wouldn't have to bring them all in. So I could click here and click on the ones I want to bring in by putting check marks on them. Or I can just say insert, and it'll insert all these pictures into my PowerPoint. And so I'm going to go ahead and tell it to do that. Insert all these pictures. And it will, whoops, let me go back and do that again. Insert, photo album, new album, files. And we're going to go ahead and, I had one of them clicked on, so we'll say insert. I'll pick all of them. So I put a check mark in front of all of them to get them into the photo album. And then it'll bring them into the photo album. And then after I have them in the photo album, I can move up and choose individual ones if I want to, and click in front, put a check mark in front of those. I can cursor down through here and see what they are. Or once I have them all in here, instead of clicking on individual ones, I can then say, make sure it says fit to slide, and say create. And then it will go, it'll take a little while because I have about 500 individual frames that it's putting into my PowerPoint slideshow. And before, remember, I had 600 of them, and now it brings them up into my new PowerPoint slideshow. And you could have a title on this if you want to. And then we can click and see that it's brought these in. And again, we can go ahead and play the slideshow from the beginning. And I can click, left button click, and you can see it grabbed a sequence of these. Sometimes it's easier to hold down your down arrow button on the keyboard, which I'm doing now, just holding it down, and it will play through the video. And you'll notice at any time I can just let my finger off that down arrow key like I did here and stop the video. So if you're talking about the video, you can say that, okay, and if you need eyewitnesses for this particular event, you can come over here and pick one of your tools. In PowerPoint, you have a Magnified Tool. I'm going to pick that, and I'm going to go ahead and magnify and say this individual saw the whole thing from over there, and he's willing to testify in court if we need him, and hit the escape key to come back out, and then down arrow key again to go ahead and play the video some more. And you can kind of see that I've grabbed way too many frames because I'm holding down that down arrow key, and it's playing very slowly. And so I might want to delete some of the frames out of my video to speed it up, those non-essential frames. So here he is running. And you notice right here, you could say, he holds up his hand to the train. He sees the train coming. He was not unaware that the train was coming. And you can tell by his hand up there that he was. And you could put an arrow pointing at that hand. So then when he goes ahead and runs onto the track, he knew what he was getting into. And he pushes the train off the track. And now you can see the train coming into the video. And here's where he could have run, and you could use your pointer if you want to. You can use like a tool, like a laser pointer, and you could use your laser pointer and say, you see, here he is. The train is there, but he could have just run right over here. He didn't have to, or he could have run over here. He didn't have to. The train, he's got the van off the track. He could have run to the right or to the left. And so you can use a laser pointer, like in PowerPoint, one of these tools, to show that. And then he comes running back across the track. So you get the idea of how you go about doing this. Now, earlier I said we had way too many frames grabbed because it was running so slow. So I can come back up to my PowerPoint, and I can go into View, and I can go into my Slide Sorter View, and I can take a look at the frames that maybe I've got way too many here. So I can come back up in my PowerPoint to the top here and say, well, you know, there really isn't much difference between all of these. You can just see here. So I can get rid of, and you can click on one slide, hold your Shift key down, and click on a bunch of them, hit your Delete key, and get rid of those. And then you can go through it and see where you might want to get rid of some more. So maybe I'll get rid of these here. Hit your Delete key. And by doing that, you can speed up the video a little bit without losing any significant information. Now, one thing to be careful about is that you document, if you do this, and you're documenting what frames you're taking out, that you haven't altered any significant information in the video by going through this. And it's a good idea to show the video in court as well, to show that you haven't doctored or altered the video itself. Because there are some things you can do in the video now that you have it in individual frames where you could actually doctor it up a little bit. Now I'm going to go here and play this over again from the current slide. And you can see when I hold down the down arrow key now, there's a lot quicker action in that particular segment. So I'm going to go back up. And not a lot quicker, but a little bit quicker. I could have deleted some more frames. Now, I mentioned earlier that you can doctor up a video and you can change a video. And you can do that, of course, by bringing in individual frames into Photoshop. So, for example, if I wanted this JPEG file to be altered in some way illegally, and this is something for you to pay attention to as well, because if the other side has altered a particular frame in a video, you should be aware of how easy that is to do. So if I brought this particular frame into Photoshop, I could eliminate a particular aspect of the video, or I could actually raise one of these barriers. This particular one here, I could raise it up in Photoshop so it looks like it was up when this fellow came to the crossing. And so he could claim, well, listen, that was up. And so they hired somebody to illegally mess with the video. And that's a lot easier to do when you bring the frames into PowerPoint. But in addition to that, what the other side could do is they could have somebody alter the video, and then they could export the video from PowerPoint and put it into a video and play it as if it was the original video, when it really isn't. So it's important to know a couple of things about how to test to see if the original video has been altered. And we can do that. If any of you have questions about it, I can give you some tips on how to detect when an individual video frame has been altered by someone, by taking a look at the background, and also take a look at the original video and compare it to the one that was exported from PowerPoint. Of course, you can look at metadata as well, and metadata is embedded into video files, so you can take a look at some programs like Metadata Viewer and take a look at whether or not that is the video that was created on such and such a date. That could help you as well. So Anyway, that is the long and the short of working with getting videos into PowerPoint to work with them. Now, another thing that I did want to show you, another feature that I'll be touching on this a little bit later, but I want to show this particular slide. I did show you the Magnified Tool that's built into PowerPoint. It's a little magnifying glass. You can move this little window around, and you can zoom in on a particular aspect. A little bit easier to see the crossing guard here, and then you can use your little hand tool to move around and see the other one. So, and then you hit your escape key to come out of that. Now, this is a nice feature of PowerPoint to be able to zoom. We'll be talking more about the zooming feature and another way, a better way of zooming when you have a lot of fine detail in an image in a future session. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that and come back to our website here. So what we did in this particular session is we used the following video to extract from it a sequence of frames and inserted these into PowerPoint. And I did put the video here, so I'm going to show you that you can play this from our website, and you might want to play it full screen. And so there's audio in this particular video that I created for you, and it goes through basically what I've shown you here. So that video is available to you. And as Alan said, he also is going to pause this. He's also going to make available to the recording session of our sessions together, a video for you. But you can also use this as well in the meantime. And the GOM Player program, like I said, is in the File Cabinet page. So if you click here and you come down to the GOM Player, this is where you can download it. And as I said earlier, after you download it, pick in File Explorer, rename it so that you have the last name as EXE, and then you can double click and install it. And the GOM Player app will ask you, do you want to get the updated version of GOM Player? I don't recommend it. I think this older version that I have does the job, but if you want to get the updated version, you can try it out. I haven't really any features in it that I would recommend, and the menus change a little bit in ways that I don't particularly appreciate. So with all software, I call it thoughtware, it's been thought out differently, and the upgrades are a little bit different. Now, as I said, these same features are available in the PowerPoint 2016. So if you have 2016, you can use all those same features I've showed you in 2016. And these are the newer features. We'll get to these in a future session as well. Email me and let me know, or let Alan know if you're using 2016, and I can cover in more detail some of those features for you as I have that available as well. But that is what I wanted to cover in this particular session. Oh, one more thing though, I did talk about it when you go into PowerPoint. If you want to customize and get this little screen clipping tool up there, you can go into your PowerPoint and you can customize that tool. So you can go into your preferences in your options, and you can go into your PowerPoint and choose to customize your ribbon. So that's where this is, customize your ribbon, and then you can drag over onto your customized ribbon, your main tabs, all of these different options. And you notice that I've already dragged it over, but in your case, you might have to drag over the snipping tool from this long list of options here so that you have it over here. So you can say I've got insert, and I've got the snipping tool as well, drug over so it shows up on my on my toolbar. So you can go through and do that, and then you'll see your snipping tool show up. Now, one problem can happen. Now you notice that, you know, I always had this particular video up when I was using it, but if I go back in here and I go to the snipping tool, like this, it will automatically go to the default. So I can come out here and grab this, and it will pop that into my slideshow. But if you don't do that and you're using the other insert option, your screenshot, and you come down here, it will have these other application windows that are open. And if you forget about it and you hover over something else that's open, like the presentation here, and then you come down and do screen snip, it will possibly come back into the application that you're using instead of the video itself. So you have to be careful of that if you are using this option instead of the other. So I think that takes care of it.